The sun hung low and merciless over the open plain, turning the dirt road into a ribbon of fire. Elias walked slowly beside his mule, each step heavy with exhaustion and worry. The animal's ribs showed through its dull hide, just as Elias's own hunger showed in the hollows of his face. In his pocket lay a single copper coin, worn smooth by years of use. It was all he had left in the world, saved carefully to buy a small sack of grain before winter tightened its grip. Without it, he did not know how he would survive. The wind carried dust into his eyes and mouth, and with it came memories of better seasons, of a small house once filled with laughter, of hands that were no longer there to share the burden. Elias pushed the thoughts away and focused on the road ahead. Stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant pain. That was when he saw her. At first, he thought she was part of the wreckage beside the road, a shadow among broken wood and torn canvas. Then she moved. An Apache woman knelt beside an overturned cart, her shoulders shaking as she tried to lift something far too heavy for her thin arms. Her dress was ripped, her feet bare and bleeding. When she noticed Elias watching, she froze, fear flashing across her face before exhaustion took over. She slowly sank to her knees, lowering her eyes. Tears streamed down her dust-covered cheeks, cutting pale lines through the grime. "Please," she said softly, her voice cracking, "don't spend money on me. I don't want to be a burden." The words struck Elias harder than hunger ever had. He had heard many pleas in his life, but never one like this. She was not asking for help. She was begging him not to help her. Pride and despair tangled in her voice, making his chest ache. He stood there silent, feeling the weight of his last coin as if it were burning through his pocket. That coin meant bread. It meant life. Yet as he looked at the woman trembling in the dirt, he saw his own reflection, someone abandoned by fate, clinging to dignity when there was nothing else left. The mule snorted softly behind him. Elias took a slow breath. He did not yet know what he would do, only that walking away would cost him more than that single coin ever could. The trading post stood at the edge of the settlement like a tired old man, its wooden boards warped by heat and time. Elias led his mule toward it as the sky deepened into shades of orange and purple. The Apache woman walked a few steps behind him, her movements slow, as though each step required permission from her aching body. Several townsfolk glanced at her with suspicion, then quickly looked away, unwilling to see need so close to their own comfort. Inside the trading post, the smell of cooked beans and bread filled the air. Elias felt his stomach twist painfully. He reached into his pocket and closed his fingers around the copper coin, hesitating for only a moment before placing it on the counter. The sound it made as it landed was small, almost fragile, yet to him it felt louder than thunder. The woman noticed at once. Her eyes widened, and she rushed forward, shaking her head as tears returned. "No," she whispered urgently. "Please don't do this. That money is your food. I can endure hunger. I have endured worse." Elias did not answer right away. He kept his gaze on the shopkeeper, a broad man with tired eyes, and quietly asked for a warm meal and a blanket. When the shopkeeper looked surprised, Elias met his gaze without shame. The coin was pushed away, replaced by a bowl of steaming food and a folded blanket that smelled faintly of soap and smoke. When Elias turned, the woman was staring at him as though she did not understand what she was seeing. Her hands trembled when he offered her the bowl. She tried to refuse again, but hunger betrayed her, and she finally accepted, breaking down in silent sobs as she ate. Tears fell into the bowl, and she did not bother to wipe them away. "Why would you do this?" she asked between breaths. "You are poor. You owe me nothing." Elias sat on a crate nearby, feeling the emptiness in his pocket like a hollow wound. "Because I know what it is to be invisible," he said quietly. "Because no one should have to beg others not to be kind." She wrapped the blanket around her shoulders, clutching it as though it might vanish if she loosened her grip. Around them, the trading post continued its low hum of voices and footsteps. But for a moment, the world seemed to narrow to the space between two broken souls. As night settled outside, Elias felt fear stir within him, fear of hunger, of regret, of tomorrow. Yet beneath it all was a strange calm. The coin was gone, but something heavier and more enduring had taken its place in his heart. The fire burned low, its orange glow flickering against the dark as night wrapped itself around the land. Elias sat across from the Apache woman, the quiet broken only by the soft crack of wood and the distant call of insects. She had finished eating, and for the first time since he had met her, her breathing seemed steady. She pulled the blanket closer around her shoulders, staring into the flames as though they held answers she had long been seeking. After a long silence, she spoke. Her name was Naya. The word fell gently from her lips, carrying a weight of history and loss. She told him about her people, about mornings filled with song and evenings scented with smoke and corn. Her voice trembled as she spoke of soldiers who came without warning, of fire tearing through homes, of screams swallowed by the night. Elias listened without interrupting, his hands clasped tightly together, his own memories stirring like ghosts. Naya spoke of running until her legs could no longer carry her, of hiding among rocks and brush, of waking each day unsure whether she would live to see the next sunset. She had trusted strangers before, she said, and kindness had often come with a price. That was why she had begged him not to spend his money. Hunger was familiar, but hope was dangerous. Elias felt the sting of her words deep in his chest. He told her of his own losses, of a wife taken by illness, of a child claimed by winter cold. He spoke quietly, as though raising his voice might shatter the fragile peace between them. Pain, he realized, did not belong to one people alone. It traveled freely, crossing borders and names. The fire popped, sending sparks into the air. Naya reached into a small leather pouch tied at her waist and withdrew a smooth, dark stone etched with careful markings. She held it for a moment, pressing it to her forehead, then extended it toward Elias. "This was given to me by my grandmother," she said. "It is meant to protect those who walk honest paths." Elias shook his head at first, but Naya's gaze was firm. Her tears had dried, replaced by something stronger. When he finally accepted the stone, a warmth spread through his palm that had nothing to do with the fire. They sat together until the flames faded into embers. When sleep finally came, it was uneasy but shared beneath the same sky. For the first time in many nights, neither of them felt completely alone in the darkness. Weeks passed after that night, and Elias returned to his small plot of land with little more than hope to sustain him. His pockets were empty, his supplies thin, yet he carried the carved stone wherever he went, tucked safely into his shirt as if it were a promise. The fields looked unforgiving, the soil cracked and dry, and neighbors shook their heads when they saw him preparing to plant. Many had already given up, saving what little seed they had for a future that might never come. Elias worked anyway. Each morning he rose before the sun, turning the soil with aching arms and blistered hands. Hunger gnawed at him constantly, but he pushed through it, remembering Naya's eyes and the strength she had shown after everything she had lost. When doubt crept in, he closed his fingers around the stone and felt steady again. He did not pray for riches. He prayed only for enough. Then the sky changed. Dark clouds gathered one afternoon, slow and heavy, and the first drops of rain fell like a blessing upon the dust. The rain did not stop after a single storm. It returned again and again, soaking the earth, filling dry channels, waking seeds that had nearly been forgotten. Green shoots broke through the soil, stronger and faster than Elias had ever seen. By mid-season his field stood tall and full, drawing quiet wonder from those who had once doubted him. Word spread, and neighbors came to help with the harvest, sharing tools and laughter. Elias gave freely of what he had grown, remembering how close he had come to having nothing. One evening, as the sun dipped low, a small group of Apache travelers passed along the road near his land. Elias paused in his work, his heart quickening. Among them was Naya. She looked healthier now, her posture straight, her eyes clear and steady. She did not stop, but their gazes met across the distance. She lifted her hand in a brief, respectful gesture, and Elias returned it, feeling a quiet joy settle within him. After they disappeared beyond the horizon, Elias returned to his work. He understood then that the harvest before him was more than grain. It was proof that kindness, even when it costs everything, has a way of returning in forms no one can predict. The last coin he had given was gone forever, but its echo remained, in the rain, in the fields, and in a heart that no longer feared being poor.